Imagine walking into a store and seeing someone steal expensive makeup for the 37th time and knowing they might just walk right back out of jail tomorrow.
I mean, that just sounds broken, right? Like a complete glitch in the system.
Right. And welcome to this deep dive. Today, we target the Texas criminal justice system. We are going to explore the really intense friction between bail laws, parole supervision, and habitual theft.
Yeah, and we pulled our facts from a big stack of sources for this. We're looking at state legislative bills, state parole division reports, local news articles, and some really heated public forums.
Exactly. Our mission here is to understand the actual mechanics of how repeat offenders navigate the legal system and, understand the massive public debate surrounding all of it.
Because it is a massive debate. People are frustrated.
Oh, absolutely. So let's just jump right in with Clara Jenkins and Denise Rogers. Clara is a 34-year-old woman from Houston, and recently she grabbed over $1,500 in merchandise from a local store.
Just swept it right off the shelves?
Yeah. But here is the crazy part. This arrest added to her staggering 37 felony theft charges. 37.
Wow.
And yet she secured a release on bond. At the exact same time, you have Denise Rogers. She racked up 13 felony convictions since 2022, mostly for stealing high-end beauty products.
You're right, the expensive stuff.
Yeah. And despite her record, Rogers ended up on parole and probation at the exact same time. She eventually triggered a massive manhunt after stealing from an H-E-B and a Sephora.
Which is just wild when you think about it. Two different systems monitoring her, and she's still hitting stores.
Exactly. And these cases went viral online. You had frustrated taxpayers and store owners just, demanding answers. They wanted to know why the system acts like a revolving door.
And that viral outrage, it didn't just stay on the internet. It actually forced Texas lawmakers to take some really aggressive action to protect local businesses.
Because the burden on these local shops is huge, right?
Oh, yeah. Think about the massive amounts of money store owners have to spend on tough security measures now. They have to hire guards, lock up everyday items behind glass.
Which changes the whole shopping experience for you and me.
Exactly. So the state's legislative response to this was Senate Bill 532. It's also known as the Caitlin Rosenfinger-Guajardo Act.
Okay, let's unpack this. It sounds like SB 532 acts as a massive speed bump. If you keep hitting the gas on committing crimes, the state finally builds a concrete wall you can't just drive over.
What's fascinating here is how they built that wall. They used hard numbers. Basically, SB 532 strips magistrates of the power to grant a personal bond if a defendant commits a new crime while already out on bond.
Wait, real quick, a personal bond is when you get released without paying cash, right?
Exactly. It's a release without security. You just promise to come back to court. But now, judges can't do that if you reoffend on bond or if you have 2 or more pending felony charges.
Oh, wow. So they just take the judge's choice out of the equation entirely.
They do. And it builds a huge financial wall. The law says anyone facing 3 or more felony charges now faces a mandatory minimum bail of $10,000 for each charge.
For each charge. So, if you have 3 charges, that's $30,000.
Yeah, 30 grand minimum just to get out of jail. So while the law aims to stop the bleeding for local businesses, it fundamentally shifts how bail operates by relying on heavy financial requirements to keep repeat offenders off the streets.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If someone steals out of desperation, locking them up for months because they can't pay $30,000 just hits pause on their problems. It doesn't actually solve them.
Right. That's the big argument from the other side.
But on the flip side, if a mom and pop store goes bankrupt because of constant theft, aren't we just trading the rights of the accused for the survival of the store owner?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you really see how the justice system struggles to balance the scale. Because, legally speaking, bail is not meant to act as a punishment.
Right. We haven't been convicted yet. You're presumed innocent.
Exactly. And advocates point out that these are nonviolent crimes. Nobody is using a weapon to steal face cream. So the physical safety risk to the public remains pretty low.
Yeah, but in Texas, the dollar amount matters a lot. If you steal between $1,500 and $20,000, that's a state jail felony.
And holding people pre-trial on those felonies destroys their livelihoods. I mean, they lose their jobs, they lose their housing, all before they even face a conviction.
Because they can't afford the $30,000 bail.
Right. So advocates are really pushing for addressing the root causes of theft like poverty, mental health, and addiction, rather than just warehousing people in jail because they don't have cash.
Which makes sense. But society still wrestles with punishing the dollar amount of the theft versus punishing the habit of the offender.
Yeah, the habit is the hard part to manage.
And that actually brings us to the next big question. While people debate bail for new suspects, what happens when the person caught stealing is already deep in the system?
Like Denise Rogers, who was on parole.
Exactly. This brings us to the ultimate tool meant to keep supervised offenders in check. The blue warrant.
The blue warrant. Yeah, that's a heavy piece of the system. Basically, a blue warrant is a pre-revocation hold. It's issued by the parole system to keep an individual locked in county jail.
So it's like a pause button on their freedom. But what actually triggers it?
Well, warrants trigger for two main reasons. The first is a new criminal offense, so getting caught stealing again. The second is for administrative violations.
Like breaking the rules of your parole.
Exactly. Moving without permission, failing a drug test, missing a meeting, things like that.
And the numbers on this are just huge. I was looking at the FY 2020 stats. The Texas Parole Division supervised 83,891 offenders.
That is a massive number of people to track.
It is. And in that same year, they published 33,521 new parole warrants. Over 8,000 of those were for brand new crimes.
Yeah, and the process behind issuing those warrants is actually pretty complex. Parole officers use a violation action grid and something called the Texas Risk Assessment System, or TRS.
TRS, so they scored the offenders, right, like grading their risk level.
Right. They use TRAS to score risks. They usually try interventions first, like written reprimands or extra meetings, before they just issue a warrant.
But once that warrant is issued and the person is arrested, the clock starts ticking.
A very fast clock. The state faces a strict 41-day clock to complete the whole revocation process.
And historically, you were just stuck in jail for those 41 days, right? Like you could never bond out on a blue warrant.
That used to be the case, yeah. But there's been a recent legal shift. Now you actually can bond out, but only under 4 very strict conditions.
Oh, what are those?
First, you have to already be in jail. Second, there can be no new offenses, so it only applies to those administrative violations.
Okay, so if you stole something new, you're out of luck.
Right. Third, you can't have a severe violent history. And fourth, a judge has to officially rule that you are not a threat to the public.
So what does this all mean? The state issued over 33,000 of these warrants in 1 year alone. If the system pumps out that many holds, yet we still see cases where people are on parole and probation at the same time committing new thefts. Is the blue warrant actually a safety net or just a giant sieve?
This raises an important question about logistics. The sheer logistical challenge is just overwhelming. The parole board has to constantly weigh public safety against overcrowded county jails.
Because there's only so much space.
Exactly. They have to use that data and those graduated sanctions to decide who stays locked up and who gets another chance.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. Let's recap. We navigated the really intense clash between community safety and constitutional rights.
Yeah, the balance between keeping businesses alive and protecting the presumption of innocence.
Right. And we unpacked the strict new math of SB 532 and then explored the really complex machinery of parole supervision and blue warrants that try to manage habitual offenders.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It really is. And for you listening, this matters because you fund this massive system with your tax dollars. You're the one shopping in the local businesses targeted by these thefts.
Right. You see the locked glass cases and the security guards.
Exactly. You live in the communities shaped by these laws. This delicate balance between freedom and public safety directly impacts your daily life and your neighborhood security.
It really hits close to home.
It does. Which leaves us with one final thought to mull over. State agencies currently use that TRAS system, the Texas Risk Assessment System, to score a person's risk level based on strict data points.
Yeah, the algorithm.
Right. So if algorithms and scoring systems become the primary way we decide who stays on parole and who gets a blue warrant, will we eventually replace human judges and parole boards entirely with computers to predict who poses a threat to your neighborhood?
That is a wild thought to leave on.
It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.